Welcome to the panel Constructivity in Media and Society. I'm Linda Hinz from Bruda Forward, the digital publisher of Hubert Boda Media. And I'm very glad that we are talking about this subject today, which is, in my eyes, one of the keys to changing things for the better. I'm a journalist myself, and for the last 6 years, the question how we can make news journalism more constructive has been central to my work. And that's why I'm really honored to welcome 4 panel participants with different backgrounds and different perspectives, which are united by a strong commitment to achieve progress in the field. So, welcome. First, Alexandra Borchardt. She's an independent journalist, media researcher and consultant, and she serves on the board of the Constructive Institute in Aarhus. Also a very warm welcome to Ana-Cristina Grohnert, who successfully managed transformations as Chief HR Officer at Allianz and Managing Partner at Ernst & Young, and also with the Charta der Vielfalt, Diversity Charter. We have Katja Speck with us, who founded Digital Market Expert in 2014, and she co-founded ID4Me, ISBL, that advocates for an open internet. And she's also Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer at VisualVest. And last but not least, my dear colleague, Florian Festl, Editor-in-Chief at Focus Online, one of the Border Forward brands. I know that the 4 of you will spend some time together this year, and I'm very proud to announce here that Focus Online initiates a prize which will be awarded this year for the first time, the Constructive World Award. So, among other impressive personalities, yeah, here it is, the logo, you 4 will be part of the jury. And this panel isn't called Constructivity in Media and Society by accident, but because it gives us an indication what makes this award unique and special. It does not only focus on journalists, but also takes the societal actors into consideration and their impact on society, and tries to, or not tries to, but rewards them equally. So to start with this, Florian, can you tell us why these 2 dimensions are so important for you, and also how you managed to consider both with the prize?
First of all, I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity to announce the birth of the Constructive World Award together with you. Many thanks to Steffi, many thanks to the whole DLD team. I think there couldn't be a better atmosphere, a more constructive, a more heartwarming atmosphere to get this thing started. It's a big day for Focus Online, and maybe I can explain why we do that and why we have more dimensions. To me, this award is more than just another journalism award. There are many of them. We have good ones, we have bad ones. And what we saw is that journalism that is produced to be worthy of award winning is often problematic because reality is sometimes tuned for it. We want to do something very different. We want to put reality on stage. We want to set the stage for people and organizations that try hard, that work day by day, making the world a little bit better. That's why we listen to them at the ceremony of the award in summer, and that's why we bring them together. And there are journalists that are maybe the best ones to explain the work of these people. That's why we want to honor them too. It works together. Together they bring reach and attention to these ideas, and we create impact. But there's a really, really important point. We don't have to do with tandems that collaborate, because we have to do with journalism, and constructive journalism is critical journalism. it critically evaluates the power of an idea, the power of an approach. It asks whether you can transfer an idea, whether you can apply it internationally, maybe. And yeah, that's important if we decide who will get this award in summer. And yeah, I'm very happy to get a start here.
Yeah, I think that's an important part. It's not about wearing pink glasses, but to get an idea about how far we are with constructive journalism, I would like to know, so 2023 is only 13 days old. Who of you four remembers a journalistic piece she or he wrote, listened to, watched, read, that focused on solutions and made you feel good? Maybe just... So maybe someone in the audience, hands up. Okay, seems as we still have some work to do on the topic of this panel. Alexandra, as Senior Research Associate at the Reuters Institute, you have a great overview over the media landscape, and I would like to know what kind of testimony you would give the German media in being constructive.
Well, first of all, being constructive is really about the future of news. What we need is news that cuts through the noise, and news that cuts through the noise is not news that is about the he said, she said variant of news. This politician said this, and this business leader said that, but news that people can use, that they can maybe identify with, that answers their questions, that explains, that really fulfills their needs. And media newsrooms have done too little in the past to really find out what the needs of their audiences really are. And I'm afraid they won't have a future if they don't really go down to doing this. Actually, news avoidance is one of the major concerns of media leaders. The survey the Reuters Institute revealed just this week said that about 3/4 of media leaders worldwide, this is a non-representative survey, said that they are worried about news avoidance, and that they will finally, I have to add, stock up on explanatory journalism, Q&A style journalism to really explain to people what they really need to know, and constructive journalism, which made me kind of happy because the work has been paying off.
Yeah, and we really see that with the readers as well. So from the Reuters Institute's digital news report about the selective news avoidance you just mentioned, so the numbers are increasing. So in Germany, in 2022, the proportion of people who sometimes or often actively avoid news has risen to 29%. In other countries, it's way higher. For example, in the US, it's 42%. So, of course, this also has to do with the news itself, for example, the Russian war in Ukraine. But I think it's really important that media and journalists also think about the effects that their published work has on the people. And when we look at these numbers, it seems like we need a little transformation, or maybe a big one. And Anna, you have experience with that, and you with companies, and you also wrote a book about hidden capital, das verborgene Kapital, picturing an economy that puts people back at the center, which can be true for employees, but also for the users. So I would like to know, what would you advise media manager in order to master this transformation challenge?
Yeah, I think as we are all here and see the complexity of the world, everyone is a little overwhelmed. We have talked about the stress of the news coming, the negativity, and this shortcut of this, you know, me and them, or we and them, so raising populism. What we have seen in companies and with the hidden capital as people, working together, that they need a positive story. So constructive story, a long-term story, not this short-term solution to just you know, in business we say to the year end, so shareholder value on the last day of December, everything has to be all right. And in news, it's a little bit like we have this short-term headlines that, you know, and the people got tired of it. Within the companies, to follow a greater good, we know we have to save the planet. We know we have to work together as a team on a purpose, a higher purpose, and we can only do that if we feel like we belong to a story, we belong to a team that has a long-term constructive story. And what I do like about the war, why I'm in the jury, is like connect the story of someone. You know, we heard about impact finance this morning, doing something to have impact, and someone who's telling the story in a constructive and positive way so you can follow and belong to a story. And it's not like we have seen that the capital market is asking for short-term success. So there you have the relation between media and capital markets. So if Adidas is saying Kanye West is, you know, no longer part of our story, the capital market says, okay, this is negative because short term, you know, your growth story will suffer. But what we say in a constructive world is it's long-term, your reputation, your brand, the way you work with your employees and your clients has a positive impact. So we need more people looking beyond the short-term KPIs, as we say in business or in media, short-term headlines. And that's why we have to, you know, put that in the front.
Yeah, this is sometimes difficult in the daily news rush. But even more important is there are so many people consuming those news. So Katja, I would like to know, how do you consume news? And did this change in the last month, years?
It hasn't changed in the last month. So I'm consuming news 100% online, different sources, of course, in the tech industry, because that's my business background, and as well news. So, but the time of the day when I consume it has changed. I think about 2 years ago or a little less, that I was used to consume my news in the evening. I was already tired, and then you all got all those bad news, and I often read it before I went to bed and was almost depressed about what I read. And I changed that, and I read a lot in the morning on my train rides, or you know, while having a coffee or lunchtime. So I try to do it in the first half of the day. It's as well nice because then you know what's going on, and instead of in the evening. In the evening, I completely avoid news.
Okay, interesting. So you are not only advising grown firms and startups, but also NGOs, and so you have a big network. And I hope you get to hear a lot of good ideas there. So based on that, I would be interested, how confident are you that we, as mankind, are capable of solving the big challenges of our time, like climate crisis and the other things that are in our minds at the moment?
I'm an optimist. I mean, raise your hand who is an optimist in here, right? This is DLD. We wouldn't be here if we wouldn't be optimistic about solving those issues. And actually, there is no other way in doing so. That said, we all know it's not. There is a lot of things going on, and so. But when I mean, that's what, you know. Organizations like, I don't know, Sprint, the innovation agency in Germany, you know, when I see what great talent is coming there, and when I just being here at DLD, seeing what talents are there and what solutions we find in science, then I think there is just no other way. And that's why one of the reasons why I like the Constructive World Award, because it's another network and community, and by showing role models, you know, others will have the confidence and either work with them or support them or start their own business or NGO.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Maybe we're sometimes a little used to looking at the things that didn't work, but there are many things that are working. So we are lucky that we have Alexandra with us today, because she's the lead author of the European Broadcasting Union report on climate journalism that works, which will be published in March. but it would be great if you could already share some insights with us, and some tips for solution-oriented journalism.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me that opportunity, because I'm really excited about this topic of climate journalism. I've gotten into it really for the past half year, and I was really worried because, in fact, three decades ago, I got my PhD on environmental policy, and actually the debates have stayed the same, and only recently have newsrooms understood that there is really something to do here, because this is the single most important predictable threat to livelihoods on this planet. But to do something about it, people need to feel they have agency, as Ana-Cristina also said. It's really very important to make people feel empowered. And it's funny, on the one of the interviews I did, someone said, like, in children's TV, you tell kids, oh, you can do something, you can discover something, you can explore something, but then when it gets down to the evening news, when they are grown up, then it's like 15 minutes of doom and gloom, and people feel like, oh God, this is horrible, the government has to act, I have no chance to act. Well, we have to really turn this around, and actually there are just 5 things that are preliminary findings of this report. And first thing is really, you have to humanize the issue. It's really about how it affects people right there in their localities. So you really have to get very local on this, because people are already affected. They have been affected for quite some while. It's really no use just confronting them again with the dire facts and with the scientists and the global reports and the global conferences. It's been felt right there. So humanize, then localize. You have to tell people there are actually solutions, and I'm not saying this is only about positive news, because there are really terrible things happening and really catastrophes happening, but the balance between what's happening on the bad side and what's actually happening on the solutions side, that every minute there are new solutions being invented, and some of them you saw here, that is so important to get that balance right for journalism. Journalism has not been doing a great job to it. Actually, one thing that I also found really interesting, you have to approach people where they are and in a language they understand. And I talked to a comedian doing research for this report who's actually a climate scientist also, and he says we have to produce content no one is producing content for, so he does climate comedy, which is really fascinating. And it's not about making fun about climate change, no, the contrary is true. It's just approaching people where they are, and that's number 5, you have to be right on target. You have to look at where are the audiences, who are the audiences, and what's the language they understand, what's the values that they are most likely to react to. So to come up with something constructive that really makes everyone feel this is a common threat and we can only respond to it collectively, as a collective effort. This is also, I think, a responsibility the media has, because who else should do that job?
Thanks a lot for sharing. You really made me look forward to the full report in March. Florian, Focus Online is a news site, and in this business we have a strong focus on speed and headlines. So what are the challenges here when it comes to promoting constructivity? And what is important, in your opinion, in doing so?
I think it's very challenging to implement constructive journalism in existing editorial department. We've been gathering experiences with that at Focus Online for more than 5 years now. And there are some things you have to know. I think at first there is a bias journalists have. We are trained to find the error. And that's quite an important job we do. We are the watchdogs. But on the other hand, we never learned to ask intensively for solutions. And that's the problem. What we have to do is a kind of rethinking journalism, a new way to talk with each other in editorial teams. This is something very basically, but I think it's essential. And there are other things. There is a thundering news stream Focus Online is publishing more than 500 news items a day. So it's very hard for these well-rested, constructive pieces to be viewable. You have to create islands that people see it in this news stream. And there is another topic. It should be a matter of heart. It shouldn't be a matter of public relations. You have to find the people in your company that really want it, and then bring them together and let them build a team, an integrated team that is able to create content, that is able to do the marketing job, to do the sales job, to change products step by step. This way it will come up. And one last thing, you need new methods of measurement. You need new KPIs if you want to have success with constructive journalism. At Focus Online, we built an AI-based tool that measures the constructivity of our offerings at every time, so that we can develop and increase with it.
So you said it's a matter of heart, but it's also a matter of business. So what happens if we don't succeed in getting more constructive and more user-focused?
I'm sure that we will succeed because we see that out there are many customers, there are many big players in the business that want this kind of content and that want these areas. And users want it too. The duration time on this content is twice as high as on normal news content.
Yeah, I can add something on the experience with climate journalism, because a very good case, we are doing case studies, and the report also is the Norwegian public TV, and they had the problem that many newsrooms have, that people say they would like to consume climate content, but actually the numbers show they don't consume it. So they ran into that problem as well. That's when they came up with a real climate journalism strategy. And I know that journalism is very much about gut feeling and very little about strategy, but it's really, really important, particularly for constructive journalism, to develop strategy and to really think about who you want to address, who you want to reach. So they did that, and they did lots of great in-depth coverage. They set up 2 climate teams. They do it all across the board, and now they have great audience numbers. So it really paid off. But just saying, oh, no one reads this, when you haven't even put thought into developing strategy, is just, it's too little effort, really. Newsrooms need to be much more ambitious than that, and not only in climate journalism, but in many other areas of journalism.
So actually, today Maren Urner, the neuroscientist, wanted to come to this panel as well, but she couldn't make it. But I wanted to add her perspective on this, because I think it's so interesting what consuming constantly negative news makes with the audience. And she phrased that very well in her book, Stop the Daily Armageddon. And she talks about the psychological phenomenon of learned helplessness. And you can see the full quote here, but looking at the time, I will try to sum it up. Always looking at the negative really can lead into depression, and that's on the personal level, but this also has impact on the society, because you feel helpless, that's this learned helplessness, and then you get into a passive mode, and you don't think there's nothing I can do about it, so you don't even try. And I think that's not a good thing. But I know that, Katja, you are a person that takes action, and you are involved in human rights projects and environmental projects. And I would like to know, so what did it take for you not to get into the passive mode, but to take action?
Yeah. For me, it's a lot easier to take action, because if not, I'm getting overwhelmed. So thing is, I know I won't solve climate crisis, I won't solve a war, but I can do, a little piece, a bits in my circle of influence, and so can everybody here, and all together we have some influence. So when I first got educated myself and then wanted to learn more about climate crisis, I knew I'm not a scientist, so I thought, okay, how am I going to do that? So I did a training. I was working in the US back that time, and so I did a training with Al Gore's Leaders for Climate, his initiatives, and which was great. But you don't have to go somewhere and do that kind of training. There are great online trainings, for example, from the WWF, made by scientists, from leading scientists like Mushib Latif, and explaining, but not only explaining what happens out there, but as well explaining what you can do within your circle of influence. And that already helps me. And talking to your peers and friends and educating them. And so I always think if all of us do this little piece, or if I help one person and have an influence on this one person's life, it's not a one-person life, because that already affects a small community, and this community can help others. So we have a snowball effect, and I don't say that will change the world completely, but I say one thing leads to another, and yeah.
You have to start somewhere. And on the project I'm currently working on, it's about selective news avoidance. We did research on this, and we found out that this doing something actually is a very clever coping strategy to feel better and to be able to be more resilient with crisis. So you can only help yourself by doing so. Ana-Cristina, you are also chair of the board of the Diversity Charter. So you know very well what it takes to change long-existing patterns. So can you tell us a little more about the Charter, but also about the learnings for changing such patterns, as we have here with the negativity bias?
Yeah, the Charta of Diversity, you can look it up. It's a platform of all organizations in Germany. About 45% of German employees are together for an inclusive culture within the workplace. But what is very important to say is change is so slow. I mean, it's really slow. I'm heading this charter 10 years now. And diversity in the boardroom, it just takes a long, long time to change. And that's why you were saying, like, you're trained to find the arrow. We see the complexity and the fear in the market, and then it's getting slower again, because we as people, I'm an optimist too, but we love to stay in our comfort zone, and as neuroscientists tell us, our brain is programmed the way that if you have fear and uncertainty, you just get stuck and don't move forward. So what we tend to do is like exactly what you described. First, you have to realize that you are programmed away, that your success factors of the past you love to take with you in the future. And now we have to have a totally different system. We have to believe in the unknown. So not in the, similarity, we all know each other, we know where you come from, where you studied, the university, the title you have, but we have to leave this secure place and open up our mind to be capable of learning, seeing the beauty and the love and the creativity and innovation and something that we don't understand, that we don't know. And that's why it's and the fourth stage, you say, that's why we need new KPIs, to remind us that we constantly go to a new goal. And that's why we need diversity, different perspective and disruption in every decision-making process. And this is something we as a human being don't really like. We love to be, in our bubble. Yeah. And except you go to the DLD, because there is like connect with the unexpected, like Steffi said 10 years ago already. But we are a bubble as well. So we have to go out here and take everyone else who feels a little bit like, discomfort and I don't want to move with us. And this is
a good call for the end of the panel, as we are running out of time. But I thank all of you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I think the times we are living in, it's not always easy to be constructive, but it's even more important. So my wish would be that we all share what we learn on this journey in our ideas to make progress here. And there are many ways to do that, of course, but one is to connect in the new network we built around the Constructive World Award, where, of course, the jury members are all part of, and others are very welcome to join. So if you are interested, please scan the QR code. And thanks a lot to all of you for your attention. and stay positive.